I'm trying to use my hat cam here, so I don't know how well it's going to do, but I'll give this a try. So I'm going to cover the throttle curve and the pitch curve, and I'm going to use an open slot. It means I don't have anything programmed in it, so everything's going to be pretty much preset with linear curves in it, which is okay because we're going to change those anyway. So I'm in the adjust list. I'm going to scroll down to the throttle curve. I'm going to click throttle curve, and I'm going to go down here to normal. Now the way that the 180 is set up in the book is, if I click this, it's going to open a little box around that H, and H means high. And over here you can see on the right side that this little line is all the way over to the right side. Now if I start scrolling backwards to position 4, you see the line come over, 3 comes over a little more, 2, and low. And you can see down at the bottom as we do that the number changes as you go across. And it's 0, 25, 50, 75, and 100. Well, it's 80.5, but I don't know why. It should be 100. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on low. The book says to put 0 in the first curve, which we have. So you click it. If you want to change that, you click this here, and it's going to put a box around that. Now from there you can change it. And what I was trying to tell you was the 0 is the position that the Talon needs to see before it will let the helicopter initialize. Well, we can accomplish that with this here, with this throttle hold switch. And you wouldn't have to worry about it falling out of the air if you go below 25% on your throttle stick while you're flying it. So what I was telling you was take that number and put it at a 25. Okay, so I have 25. I'm going to click it to save it. I'm going to click again. It's going to put the box up there on the L. We're going to roll the wheel to 2. And we're going to click it again. And it's already at 25, so I don't have to do anything there. So click it to save it. Click it again. Go to 3. And we're going to change that number to a 25. And you can see on the right side the graph is scrolling down. Well, maybe you can't see it. I'm not sure how good the quality is yet. So I'm going to click it to save it. Click it again. I'm going to go up to 4. I'm going to change that to a 25. Click it to save it. Click it again, go to high. I'm going to change that to a 25. Okay, now what I've done here is I've put the lowest head speed for the 180 on our normal mode, and I've taken the 0 out of the low position. So what's going to happen is you're going to have to use your throttle hold. You would flip it on, and flipped on, if it's set correctly, it will give the Talon the 0 it needs to see in order to let the helicopter initialize. And then when you're ready to fly, you just flick it off, and it's going to start to spool up on its own. So make sure you're aware of that. So now we're going to get out of that, and we're going to go down to stunt mode. Now this is what I was talking about earlier. So we're going to click it on here, and it's in position 4, and I'm going to move that back to L. I'm just going to start there, and I'm going to put it up to, I do this every time. Okay, I'm going to put it back up to 75. I'm going to click it to save it. Somehow I ended up in 4. Let's go back to low. Change low to 75. Click it to save it. You'll notice the graph over here, it's starting to change. That's because I'm moving my throttle curve up as I go. And then on this side it's going to come down because I'm going to have to lower it. So click it, go to 2, change that one to 75. My scroll wheel is starting to get a little bit worn, so I'm probably going to make some mistakes here. Click it to save it. Click it again, go to 3. We're going to change that to a 75. Click it to save it. Click again, go up to high, and it's already at 75. But if it isn't, change it down to 75. So now we've set up stunt mode for the middle head speed. Now we want to check our hold. We want to make sure that our hold is set to 0. There's only one endpoint on your hold for your throttle curve, but we need to make sure that's at 0 because that's what we're going to use to tell the Talon that it's okay to initialize the helicopter. So I'm going to get out of that, and I'm going to go down to hold, and it's already set at 0. They come default this way, so you don't have to change anything here. You just need to make sure that it's set at 0. So now when I flip this on, and that's what he was talking about, the arrow moving, none of these are going to work, but it's going to tell the Talon that it has 0 throttle, and it's going to let the Talon allow the helicopter to initialize. But like I said before, just be aware that once you flip this off with the 25 in the low position instead of the 0, the blades are going to start to spool up. So that's up to you to decide if you want to do that, but I would recommend it if you're having trouble with the helicopter shutting off when you go below 25%, because it can happen. Okay, so we're done in here. We're going to go out of it, and we're going to go down to our pitch curve. And in the book, I believe normal is set at 30, 40, 50, 75, and 100. So I'm going to go down to the low position, and I'm going to set that to 30, which is not a bad curve. It just, you can still pile drive it into the ground if you jam the stick down suddenly trying to get it on the ground for some reason. So, and I believe you've already done this part, so you probably are pretty well set on this. So we go down to 30, going to set it, oops, and go back up and change to position 2, and we're going to change this one to what it said in the book, 40, and change this one, and the rest of these, since this is a pre-program, or this program has never been used, I've already got 50, 75, and 100. Now, the way the guy in the other video had his pitch curve set up, he actually had this one low. He had it set up at like 48, I think. And that's not a bad idea, because what it'll do is it'll give you about, like he said, I think 2 degrees of pitch, negative pitch, which, so when you're coming all the way down on your stick here, it's only going to tilt the blades down 2 degrees. So makes it easier to get it on the ground, because if you panic and you just drop the stick all the way, you don't have to worry about pile driving it into the ground. It's going to go down, and you're going to still have to maintain control on it, but it's not going to come down as fast or as rapidly as it would with the 30 and the 40 set in L and 2. So what I would recommend, what I recommended was the 45, the 47.5, and that gives you a little bit of breathing room, plus it gives you a little bit more pitch to get it down quicker if you need to. And you can always change these later and go to whatever the book says, or go to whatever you're comfortable with. But what I would do is take this one and set it to 45, and then go to 2 and set it at 47.5. And that'll actually give you about 4 degrees of negative pitch. So save it, and then 50, 75, and 100, because you want as much positive pitch as you can, because that's what you're going to use if you get into trouble and you need to get it back up in the air in a hurry. So now we've got those set. I'm going to get out of that. I'm going to go down to hold. Now your pitch hold is different than your throttle curve hold. Your pitch hold actually has 5 endpoints, and they need to be set differently than your throttle curve. So we're going to click it. We're going to go back to low, and we want a linear curve on this, because what this will do is if you kill the power to the helicopter, if you were flying a larger helicopter that is capable of auto-rotating, you would still be able to control the pitch of the blades. So even though the helicopter is dead, you can still give it positive pitch, and it'll basically it'll spiral down, but it'll spiral down with a little bit of lift to it. And that's what they talk about when they're discussing auto rotation. The 180, I don't know if it's capable of auto rotation, but it's nice to be able to increase your pitch as you're falling because it might help stabilize it a little bit. So it's basically the same as these other two. We're going to click on the L, we're going to go down here, and we're going to leave that at 0. So save it and go up to your next position. It's already set. But if it weren't, you would set it to 25. And then you would click it and save it, go up and go to 3, and it's at 50. And you could click it and change it, save it, go back up and go to 4, and you basically repeat that same process for each endpoint on your pitch hold. And the last one is at 100. So that's basically all you have to do in here. So we've got our stunt mode set up as a linear curve because we can verify it by scrolling through it. And we have our normal mode set up the way the book says, well, not the way the book said, sorry, but we have our normal mode set up as the altered curve, which is going to give you about 4 degrees of negative pitch. And that'll help keeping you from slamming it into the ground if you get into trouble. So we're done in here, and that's how it would be set up. So we want to get out of that. And you'd asked about dual rates, the switches. And I believe that is in the setup list. There it is. Okay, so it's right under model select. So you click that, and what I was trying to tell you was your elevator, your aileron, and your rudder, they have 2 positions. So you can set up 2 different sets of dual rates in Expo. So in your case, you wanted to set your aileron and elevator at 80%. So we can set that at 80%. And I'm in position 0 because you can see the zeros here. And we want to go over to this one and we want to put some Expo on it, which I think you said you might have done 10%. Okay, so we're going to set that. Then we're going to go down to elevator and we're going to do the same thing. And we're going to add in 10% of Expo on it. The rudder will leave alone. Now if you wanted to have a second set of dual rates to experiment with, like I said, if you don't like the 80 or the 80, I think you had 85. I'm not at my computer, so I'm not sure. No, you had 80 and 20. But anyway, you get the idea. Okay, so now we want to set up your second one, so we're going to flip that switch for your elevator, and you'll see that change to a 1. Your aileron's going to change to a 1 as well. Now we can set up a second set. So let's say you don't like the 80-20, you want to try 85-15. So we're going to take that, if I can get my fingers to cooperate, we're going to set that down to 85. And then we're going to change the Expo to 15. And then we'll do the same thing for the elevator. Okay, so now those are set. Now if I change my switches, you're going to see them change too. 80 and 20 for your dual rate position on 0, and 85 and 15 on your other. So now what you've done is you don't have to go back in here if you want to try this second set of dual rates in Expo. The next time you fly, you just basically have to flip your switches and you've got it all set. So that's about it for this. And sorry about the crappy video. It's my first one. I'm also fighting a cold. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll help you any way I can.